What can organisations do to streamline climate reporting processes in the lead up to fresh regulatory filing? I'm Mike Loader. Let's find out. It's great to be with you wherever you are watching. Also today on Ticker, AI has begun to show signs of deception. Notable examples include a machine faking its own shutdown procedure. More on that in just a moment, but first up. We generally talk about how we should eat, but what about reflecting on when we eat? Some interesting studies are outlining some curious things about intermittent fasting, and joining me in the studio now is Kate Save from BeFit Food. Kate, it's wonderful to have you with me. What's the difference between intermittent fasting and restricted eating?
Well, let's go back a step. So most of the time, the guidelines over decades have really told us to restrict our calories over a continuous period cycle. So to do continuous energy restriction if we're looking to combat obesity or lose weight.
Right.
However, this intermittent restrictive eating is a little bit different. So we can either have time restricted where we're eating within a shorter window of time. So perhaps instead of eating over 12 hours, we're eating over 8 hours a day. So that could look like eating from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or perhaps starting maybe around 8 a.m. and finishing much earlier at 4 p.m.
Right.
The other type of restricted eating could be around actually alternative day fasting or 5-2 diets, if you've heard of them.
Tell us more.
Well, you restrict your calorie intake to about 25% of your calories 2 days of the week, and then eat pretty normally the other 5 days of the week. There's lots of different variations for this. Sometimes people change, they restrict one day, don't restrict another. Maybe they restrict up to 60% of their food, but depending on which method suits the individual, I think is the one that's going to be most effective.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've definitely noticed I've stopped eating breakfast as early as I thought. I just can't stomach food in the morning for some reason. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it's interesting. What are some of the benefits that you can tell our audience about intermittent fasting aside from reducing overall calories and of course losing some weight?
Well, what they found is aside from actually just naturally reducing calories when you reduce your eating window or when you restrict the total amount of eating that you do on certain days of the week, there's benefits to the metabolism in actually encouraging the body to maintain lean body mass and preferably burn more body fat.
Okay.
So there's changes in the liver and how it uses an enzyme lipase for fat burning, but none of these things have seen straight away. Like anything, you really need to set your window for at least 2 to 10 weeks to start to see results. So you're not going to see it overnight, but you will see the results. And aside from that, there's cardiovascular benefits, whether that's blood pressure, even cholesterol, triglycerides. There's blood sugar management, so whether that's insulin sensitivity, so how we burn our calories or burn fat, or glucose management as well. But people with diabetes need to be careful if they are on medication.
Yeah, very well said. So how does intermittent fasting affect our metabolism, if we can touch on that a little bit more?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people out there are probably looking, like, I want to lose some weight, I want to get healthier. You know, take us through a little bit more.
Well, the key thing is to have a longer fast. Now, people think when they finish eating, they're fasting. Well, actually, it depends on what you ate and how big the meal was, because your body still has food in it. So it's not going to be in a fasting state until it processes that food. A quicker way to speed up getting into that fasted state is to go for a walk after the evening meal. So it could just be a 20-minute walk, but you're actually going to burn some of that glucose that's been pushed out into the bloodstream, which means then if you've eaten 3 to 4 hours before bed, you've gone for a walk, you're in that fasted state, your biological clock will mean that you sleep better. So you wake up with less anxiety and, you know, better night's sleep. Plus, it actually improves your gut microbiome. There's a couple of different types of beneficial bacteria that increase with the intermittent fasting. And aside from all of that as well, I think you wake up in the morning, and if you can then extend the fast a little bit longer by exercising in a fasted state, you're really into that fat burning mode. And this is where they see the benefits in actually burning fat and preserving lean body mass. But of course, you still need to be mindful of what you're eating in that eating window.
And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, making sure, you know, if I choose to eat donuts at that time, I may end up making a mistake there. But it's certainly interesting. And again, on a cellular level, and looking at this stuff in a microbiome sort of manner is so interesting. Is it safe for everyone to be doing, or is it the sort of thing we need to be talking to people, doctors for, before we go, hey, I'm fasting now?
Well, certainly we wouldn't use it in pregnant women or women that are breastfeeding, people with type 1 diabetes that are on insulin, or people that are on medications in general, because it really will affect, if it lowers blood pressure, if it lowers blood glucose levels, then we don't know with their medications how that's going to interact and whether or not their doses need to be adjusted.
And just to finish for me, what does a day in the plate look like of somebody who's out there fasting?
So if you're doing a 5-2 diet where you're having 25% of your calories 2 days a week, eating normally the rest of the week, as a female you might be having about 500 calories, as a male about 600 calories on that day. So that's 2 small meals that maybe have 100 grams of protein each, plus 2 to 4 cups of your veggies and salads, because you need that fibre for the gut, otherwise you won't be using your bowels.
Kate, I want to thank you as always for bringing this to our attention, of course taking us through a little bit more about how we can be healthier. I've certainly cut down on my drinking since we spoke last time, so thank you again.
Well done.